Now, are you someone who, so like me, I've gone through this evolution as a lifter. Like if you watch me early in my lifting career, I was so internal. I'd just
Mhm.
walk up, no emotion, lift it. I could be so excited, but you would not know. And I would just
Right.
walk off. And as I've competed, it's like kind of evolved to this spectacle, I guess I call it, where really it's quite embarrassing if I think about it from the outside, but I'm pacing and like crying and talking to myself and all kinds of weird stuff um, to get like this next level of excitement. But I would say that was always in me,
Mhm.
but I tamed it early because I felt like whenever you're still getting used to competing and all the power lifts, like if you get yourself too emotional, you're just going to screw something up. Like you were just saying, like it's a simple sport, but one thing off can throw off the whole lift. And as I've gotten better, I can juggle it more. I just like turn on autopilot for the completing the lift portion and I let the emotions take me away. How
Mhm.
do you approach emotions on like in both the gym and on the platform? Do you just let them run wild or do you kind of keep them in check?
So I think, um, as far as the emotional thing goes, it's kind of like a multifaceted thing to look at. So one, I think we all kind of tame it early because before you master your sport, you don't want to screw up like you talked about, and also you don't want to look like the guy who's being that guy, like he's not there yet, he's strength wise, and nobody's usually thinking this, but you think they're thinking this. So you don't want
Hmm.
people to be like, wow, he's really putting on a show and he hasn't achieved much or he's not very strong. And um, so that might be why a lot of us tame it early because you don't want to do what you really want to do or what feels good. But then as I've progressed, I agree. The same exact thing happened. It's more of a spectacle now sometimes, both in competition and the gym occasionally. And a lot of that's just because I'm more comfortable now as a lifter, and I've realized this is the only time I get in this whole competition or whatever. So I might as well do what feels good or is fun. So definitely in competition, I say let them run wild, like whatever's natural. I wouldn't force things, personally to make it more showmanshipy,
Hmm.
but but I do the same thing. I pace, I talk to myself because it's really how I'm feeling. Like that's the level of aggression I'm at. Um, but in training, I like to limit it more because it's like you said with maxing. I don't want to just the energy and mental expenditure. I try to think of my mental reserve as a resource as well, and I try not to tap into it too much. But again, you can't be too conservative, like you said. So it's a fine line.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I very, close to competition, I'll start to pull that out. And we're probably getting it from the same resource, I would guess. I remember Dave Tate would always talk about like I think he called it going into the void or something along those lines. And he would always say like you can only tap into it so many times. So it's like that reserve ace card in your back pocket that you're like, okay, this is going to be a big lift. Let's pull out the ace card. So yeah, I approach it exactly the same, I think.
It's like I don't know. It's like Yu-Gi-Oh or something. If you pulled the blue-eyed dragon card every time, like it wouldn't work anymore. So
Right.
that
Yeah.
you know, and definitely it's the whole thing, and it all ties back to fatigue, everything being cerebral. Like you don't want to, hang yourself out to dry, spread yourself too thin because you're still a human ultimately. There's only so much we can do, even if we're trying to be superhuman. So you have to pick your battles, so to speak. Be smart, but train hard. Don't limit yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and so those are all kind of good points about